Hi, I'm Paige, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made this dress. So it's a Daisy Duck inspired dress for my daughter's Halloween costume, and I used this McCall's pattern, M6915. I made view C with a few alterations, and I'll show you what I did in the video. So let's get right into the tutorial. So I took the sleeve and I wanted to make it wider, so what I did was sort of a slash and spread style alteration. So I already drew the lines where I wanted to widen it, and I did that throughout the sleeve. So you're just stretching the whole thing out, and then you can connect all of the lines to make it smooth again. So you just trace this, and the rest of the sleeve stays the same. So you're really just adding to the middle. And then I cut out the fabric. You can do this either with scissors or with a rotary cutter, which looks like this. It makes it really fast. You just have to be careful. And because I widened the sleeve and I wanted the bottom to puff out, I also had to make a little sleeve band, which I used the width of the sleeve before I adjusted it. So it's just a simple rectangle that fits around the arm. So those are the only two pieces that I really altered. The rest of this, the bodice pieces, are completely normal and unaltered. You just mark all of your matching points and notches, and then do the back of the bodice. This is the neck band, so I'll need to cut one of those. Here I decided I was going to make a little flounce, so what I did was minus the seam allowance, I measured across the waist of the bodice and then just times that by 2 and made like a full circle skirt pattern. And it was about 5 or 6 inches. So here it's just a little circle piece that looks kind of like a donut, and that will make a flounce at the bottom of the shirt. This is the skirt bottom, and I'm using kind of like a furry knit fabric. It looked a little bit like feathers, but kind of like fur, sort of how I imagine Daisy Duck would look. And I just narrowed the bottom of the skirt by folding it over on an angle, but the top of the waist is exactly the same. Then you can use a vacuum to vacuum up all of the little furs or hairs. This really makes it so much neater when you're actually sewing. Now we can begin construction, and we're just going to match up the bodice pieces with the right sides together, and we're going to sew all of our seams on the sides and the shoulders. I do this all at one time on my serger. It just makes it quick and easy and stretchy, and it saves a little bit of thread. And then I just clip them apart, and it looks like this. Now we're going to insert the neck band, and to do this we're going to sew the right sides together and then fold this in half over onto each other like this to where the seam is on the inside. And then you're going to insert it into the neck opening. I like putting the seam in the back of the neck because it just shows my girls which side of their dress is the back side. It's just a good memory tool, and I like it there rather than on one of the shoulders. Then you're just going to pin all of your matching points and pin all the way around. And it's going to seem too small, and it's supposed to be like that. You want the neck band to be a little smaller than the neck opening, and you sew that into place, and then it folds in like this. You can press it with the iron and then move on to the sleeve. So here we have this widened sleeve, and I just did my prep work ahead of time by basting along the top of the sleeve, and then we're going to stitch the underarm seam. And we'll do the same thing on that armband, just like this. It's going to be treated the same way the neckline was. So we'll set that aside and get the sleeve ready. And then I'm going to do the same technique where I match the seam. That's the part you want to just make sure you get right, is just matching up that seam. It makes it look nice and professional. And then find the halfway points on the other side and pin them together. Same thing on the middle. So it's dividing it into quarters and pinning those quarters. Once you've gotten to this point, you are ready to sew. And you're going to be stretching this while you sew. So you don't have any folds in the sleeve. The armband is going to kind of pull in the sleeve to make it kind of look like this. A little bit puffy. Now we can turn our shirt inside out, the bodice part, and then have the sleeve right side out, and you're going to match them up and match the underarm seam of the sleeve and the bodice. And then from this point, you're going to pin all of the match points on the lower part of the sleeve, working to the mid part of the sleeve. And then I match the top of the sleeve, the top center, with the shoulder seam. And the more pins you use in this process, the better. It just makes sure that your sleeve is going to be set nice and smooth. At this point, then we're going to gather up those two gathering lines and make our puffs at the top of the shoulder. You can pin those into place and do the other side. And then our top of the sleeve is all gathered and we're ready to sew. You can baste, like just set your machine on a long basting stitch and go all the way around, and this just makes it easier when you're going to put it through the serger. It's less to manage. You just check that everything is smooth and how you want it to be, and then you can serge it. Or if you don't have a serger, you can use a wide zigzag stitch. And if you're not using a serger, all of your seams should be sewn with a stretch stitch. See here, because I used a basting stitch, some of my threads are going to be pulled tight through there. So I'm just removing those so that the sleeve stretches as well. I don't want anything being rigid in this. And there is our puff sleeve. So you'll just do the same thing to the other side. And then for the flounce, all you have to do is hem the bottom. So what I did is serged the bottom and then folded it over twice and then stitched. All the way back to the beginning because there is no seam because I cut out a full circle, and that makes it super easy. Now you're just going to pin this to the bodice, making sure that your grain lines are straight with the bodice. And then for the skirt, it's very simple. You're going to stitch the side seams together. So I just serged them. And then I hemmed the bottom by serging it and then folding it over and stitching it. So when you do this with a furry fabric, it kind of stitches the fabric down and it's really obvious where you stitched, but you can go in with just something pointy and pull those hairs out of that stitching line and it almost disappears to where you can't see it. It looks really nice. So once that skirt is all finished, I'm going to pin it to the dress. So we're just going to pull it to the outside. And then all of those pins that are already holding that flounce and the bodice piece together, I'm going to use those pins and get all 3 of those layers together. If 3 layers are too difficult to work with, you can baste the bodice and the flounce together and then attach it to the skirt. But I just did them all 3 at once. Then you're going to stitch that and the dress is all finished. That's what it looks like. And on the inside. And that is how you make this costume. So I always make my girls' costumes functional and kind of dress up at the same time, to where they can use them as play clothes throughout the year and just have fun with them both on Halloween and after. And, you know, if my daughter wants to wear this to the grocery store, that'll be fine with me. And then to add a couple accessories to it, you don't have to go too crazy, but obviously you need Daisy's bow. And I have a tutorial on how I made this headband. I have 2, like a stretchy one and then a regular rigid headband. And I think they work really well together, just because this one holds it to the head so it's not going to fall off, and this one keeps it in the position. I show you how to make both of these options in that video. If you want to check that out, it'll be linked below the video. And then you can add yellow tights. You can add all different kinds of shoes, whether you want them to just be pink shoes or high heels or whatever you want. And then, or you can do like a little ruffly sock. And that's it. If you want to keep it really simple, those are a couple more items that make it a little more Daisy Duck inspired. If you like this video, you can let me know down below by clicking the like button. You can click subscribe and the bell alert next to it to be notified anytime that I post a video. And until next time, go get creative and make a costume that you love. Bye!